Welcome to the official Guns Up Nation fan page podcast, the premier voice for the fearless fans of Raiderland and proud supporter of Texas Tech University. Let's meet today's hosts.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome in to the newly improved Guns Up Nation podcast. I'm RC Maxfield alongside Tobias Bass. Tobias, it's our first podcast with Guns Up Nation. It's going to be a great, I'm going to call it a marriage. I don't know if that's a little weird, but I'm going to go ahead and say that anyway. But Tobias, we're super excited about this. Tobias, tell the people a little bit about yourself, though.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's a new marriage. You know, we're kind of still on the honeymoon phase. You know, we trying to learn more about ourselves. But yeah, man, I graduated from Texas Tech in 2018. Went there in 2016 from a junior college. My time there at Tech, I worked for the Daily Torador, did some freelancing stuff for Red Raider Sports, and thanks to you, I got to work for KTXT for about 2 years, did some radio there, some sports reporting there. Got to do a bunch of stuff, covered literally everything. It was a bunch of fun times, great memories, got to travel a lot, so that's a little bit of my background.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get to create more memories with Guns Up Nation. But my background, kind of like Tobias said, I was at KTXT for about 3.5 years, was the podcast director there for a little bit. Got a lot of podcasts off the ground for them. But I think the big thing for me, I was the sports director there at KTXT. Got to cover multiple College World Series teams. Went to Minneapolis for the Final Four. Got to go to Dallas, cover them there, and also I got to cover them in Tulsa, Oklahoma when they were making their Final Four run, and as well as Tobias. Tobias was alongside me as well. So, got to do a lot of fun things, meet a lot of cool people, and we're really excited about starting this Guns Up Nation partnership. It's going to be a lot of fun. Really excited about launching the website here really soon, where you can find all of Tobias's great content as well as my own. On there, we're going to be doing a lot of stuff. I know Tobias is really good at game breakdowns. I'm sure he's going to be doing that on there in terms of film work and all that kind of stuff with Texas Tech players. So look forward to that. And then we'll have opinion pieces on there, be interviewing recruits, all kinds of stuff on there. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And, of course, you can follow Guns Up Nation at Guns Up Nation on Twitter as well as Facebook. And then now, Tobias, as of I believe it was yesterday, correct? Maybe the day before?
Yeah, day before.
Instagram. We got Instagram now. So going to be a lot of fun content going up on all the major platforms. So be sure to give us a subscribe and a review on here. And we'll keep you all informed about Texas Tech athletics. And speaking of Texas Tech athletics, it was a pretty big week for Texas Tech athletics, at least in the baseball program, where they had another 2 guys get drafted, and kind of a weird setup this year for the MLB Draft because the owners and the players are just they're being really stupid right now, to say the least, in terms of getting back on the field. But a really good couple of days for Texas Tech, where they had 2 pitchers go, in Bryce Bonnin, who got drafted 84th overall, and then you had Clayton Beater as well. He got drafted 66th overall by the Dodgers. 2 really good right-handed pitchers and 2 really interesting stories, and especially in Bryce Bonnin. His story is super, super interesting. For those who don't know, Bonnin basically just got cut by Arkansas. Yeah. Lost his scholarship, was looking for a place to go. Coach Tadlock brought him in after he got cut just because he had a shoulder injury. And Bonnin came in and he just worked, man. He went to work. Wasn't always electric, and his first start as a Red Raider was proof of that. Only went 1 1/3 innings, but, I mean, you get drafted 84th overall, and, that's saying something right there, and kind of cool right here in terms of a little note. The Cincinnati Reds have drafted 2 Red Raiders in back-to-back years. They drafted Bryce Bonnin 84th overall this year, and then they drafted Cameron Warren in the 22nd round just last year. So really interesting stuff right there for the Red Raiders. Tobias, you got anything on those 2 guys?
I remember you told me that story about Bonnin last year. We went to go watch him play in the regionals. You pretty much said if he can, he throws it hard, but if he can throw it straight or throw it, throw it to the catcher, he'll be fine. That's pretty much what you said. He throws it hard. I mean, he really can let that thing loose. But definitely, proud of him for getting drafted. His story is very unique. It would have been easy for him to quit or, be frustrated. But, I mean, and shows testament for Tyler for finding him, too. Finding him and, developing him, took a chance on a guy, now he's a drafted player. So
Yeah, and an interesting tidbit on Coach Tadlock and his drafted players at Texas Tech, and this comes from TexasTech.com, their website. Tech has turned into a factory for power arms during Tadlock's 8-year reign as the head coach here in Lubbock. Of his 50 draft picks in Lubbock, 32 have been pitchers, including 14 within the first 10 rounds of the draft.
Wow.
I found that really interesting.
Wow, it is interesting.
Because when you think of Lubbock as a baseball fan, you kind of think of it as a Coors Field light. And what I mean by that is it's a hitter's paradise with the wind always blowing.
Yeah.
You know, if you just hit a pop up to second base, it's got a chance to go out of the park some days with the wind helping it out. And, you know, you see that number, 32 of the 50 players drafted were pitchers. I think that's a really big testament to what Coach Tadlock and crew have been doing in pitching development. And, I mean, that's not a knock on the guys that are getting drafted that are hitters. It's just super impressive that, you know, over 60% of the guys that have been drafted from Texas Tech have been pitchers.
No, that's very. I wouldn't have. I want to see what is that, you know, in comparison to other like schools and his time at Tech. That's very, very high. It's like you said, especially with the wind, because you know we'll go watch a game. You know, it's a normal hit ball to second base. That thing carries a little bit. It's just so windy, and the weather is very unpredictable, as we know.
Yeah, I mean, you and I know it best. I mean, and a lot of Tech fans do too. We covered the Oklahoma State Super Regional last year, and it was 40 degrees during game one. We were freezing down the right field line. And then the next day it was 97?
Yeah.
I mean, I just got an instant cold right there just because, you know, Lubbock trying to give a middle finger to everybody. But, I mean, everybody should be used to that if they go to Texas Tech. But another interesting fact, when you look at Texas Tech, Tech was one of 2 Big 12 schools with multiple players chosen in the shortened 5-round draft this year. It is the 30th consecutive year for Tech to record multiple draft picks, the 3rd longest streak in the country, and the longest in the Big 12. Additionally, 41 Red Raiders have been drafted since 2015. That is the most in the Big 12 and the entire state of Texas.
I mean, really, we know what Tadlock brings to the table. He just needs a national championship. Man, he's done literally everything else.
I agree. I mean, you could argue if he wins that national championship, they're you know, they already got a highway for Marcia Sharp. They're going to have to name one after Coach Tadlock.
Oh yeah, no, he needs something for sure. Oh yeah, I think over the next couple of years, you're going to see a couple of coaches. They're going to get a street, highway, boulevard, I don't know, restaurant, whatever you want to call it. They're going to get some stuff.
Yeah, there's that lady petitioning from the Architect building to rename the city. I don't know if you saw that.
What was it?
Apparently, and I don't want to get too political here on our first show, you know, that would probably be a Debbie Downer type moment, but in limelight, you gotta put this stuff out there because of what's going on in the country. So apparently, I didn't know this, maybe you do. Lubbock is named after somebody that was a bit racist, to say the least. I believe they own slaves and everything like that. So I forget her name from the architect department, but she is petitioning that Lubbock changes the name. I really have no opinion on it because I just know what she brought to the table in terms of research. I haven't done any myself. So I just wanted to put that out there. So I'm not saying, yes, change it. And I'm not saying, no, don't change it. It's just, I'm just bringing what she brought out to the table. So do your own research, and then you can let us know kind of deal. But maybe they name it Chris Beardsville.
Yes, I mean,
I can see
something. Yeah.
You know, Tadlock, Texas, or something like that.
Tadlock, they could definitely do something. Both of those guys are definitely going to get a street or something very, very soon, especially Tadlock. Yeah,
no, I mean, it was super exciting to see those guys drafted. And again, just a testament, like you said, Tobias, just we know what Coach Tadlock brings to the table every year. Once he gets that ring and the championship, I mean, I think people, they already respect him, right? But I think that, you know, more national exposure in terms of, you know, just not even in the baseball community, but just around the country and even the state. I think people know Texas Tech is really good at baseball, right? But they don't know if they can get over the hill. It's got that almost Tom Izzo effect to it. You know, Tom Izzo's been to 8, 9 Final Fours, but only one championship.
Right.
It's kind of like that, but in baseball.
And then for sure, like, you know, speaking of pitchers, you know, we're going to have a couple of more pitchers next year, the year after, they're going to get drafted as well. You have a bunch of super, super young talents coming up through the ranks. You know, unfortunately, we didn't get to see them play this year due to the viral, due to the pandemic. But Michael Dallas, you have guys like him. They're going to be.
Yeah.
He's insane. I love that guy. He brings to the table, especially we got to see him last year as being super super young on a big stage, and he played phenomenal.
Yeah, no, it's interesting too because last year, I guess in the shortened season, when they went 16-3, and 2 of those losses came against just Mississippi State down in Starksville, another top 10 team in the country. Micah Davis was just trying to build up to be a starter again. He really wasn't even in the starter's role. So imagine, once he actually has a full offseason to recover, get his arm in shape, look out the rest of the country because he's going to have he's going to be a man on a mission, to say the least. But let's switch over to a little bit of I don't really know how to say this, Tobias, but just kind of like, I guess, relevant news in terms of what's been going on in this country for the past 3 or 4 months. In terms of, I guess, technically the whole year, COVID-19, it kind of hit close to home this past Monday when Texas Tech announced that 6 members of the basketball program contracted the COVID-19 virus. And I mean, I think a lot of people will put, 2 and 2 together and think that they got it in the silent solidarity walk that happened in Lubbock last Monday night. And kind of just interesting to see because I think Texas Tech, at least the one that I saw, was the first school that released this out. And then just this week, you're starting to see, the Alabamas of the world, the Iowas of the world, other schools are starting to slowly release that, hey, some of our athletes have COVID as well.
For sure. I mean, there's – especially in these bigger cities. I know I'm in Houston right now. We had a walk last week. It was over 60,000 people there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're seeing guys like, Philly, D.C., L.A. They're protesting last night in Brooklyn. There's thousands of people there. So, you definitely want to try to, when you're having a protest, you really can't social distance. You can't.
No.
So you want to try to wear a mask or, be as safe as possible. But, hopefully the guys, they're able to get well soon. And hopefully it doesn't affect their health, long term, especially some of the coaches, if they got it as well. They're a little bit older, so hopefully they can stay healthy and safe. But it's just sad to see. Hopefully, they recover. I mean, I don't want people to, like, well, this is what you get when you they're protesting for a good reason. It is unfortunate that, the circumstances that we're in right now is very weird. We're dealing with a national or global pandemic, and we're also dealing with these peaceful protests. So, it's kind of all the ends worth the means. And unfortunately, they did get sick, but they were doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, no. And I mean, at the same time, what's to say they weren't going to get sick regardless?
Yeah.
You never know what type of situations they're in. Everybody has their freedom to do whatever they want. They might have just got it anyway. But yeah, I think these guys will be fine if they, listen to the trainers and, do take the proper measures, I should say, to get back into proper health. And I think they'll be all right, but definitely in our thoughts right there, because I think this is going to be not even just a Texas Tech problem. As I mentioned, Bama, Iowa, other schools as well. I believe Georgia was even involved in this. I think this is going to be an issue throughout, maybe the next year to 18 months. Like, how do NCAA schools, especially in the sports field, do this? Like, how do they are you just unavailable for 2 weeks if you're a football player? Like, hypothetically, let's just say Alan Bowman, right? Let's just say he gets COVID, God forbid type situation, but let's just say he does, right? So is he unavailable for 2 weeks due to, the self-quarantine for 14 days, or does he have to wait an additional week? Like, what's the legislation on this?
And to be honest, if I'm a team, let's say we're traveling to West Virginia and they know, Alan Bowman got hurt, or maybe they're even coming to Lubbock, for example. If I was West Virginia, I would quit, almost not even want to play.
Yeah.
I would because, one, you're going to have to allocate a bunch of money to testing the players. I mean, every day, every other day.
It's got to be every day.
Yeah, especially if you have a guy in your own locker room that's tested positive for, you're going to have to test them pretty much every day. The test is very painful. It's not pleasant. Then, if you're a team, if you're coming to Lubbock, I know you have cases in your area. I don't know if I want to play.
Yeah, no. And what's the legislation and the verbiage on just that, what you're talking about, right? Like, does West Virginia have the right, for example, in this scenario to say, no, we're not going to play because the betterment of our players and their health is more important than a football game? Will that happen? I don't know. But I mean, you look at Texas, I mean, they're over 6% now in terms of, cases that come back positive.
Yeah.
That's higher than they've been in a while. and it's obviously because of the reopening. And Greg Abbott, and, if you want to agree with him, you can. If you don't, you don't. Whatever your opinion is, I really don't care about it. But the numbers don't lie in that regard, that the numbers are up in terms of positive cases. So you have to wonder with, him coming out and saying Jones AT&T Stadium can be at 50% capacity. Well, 50% capacity of Jones AT&T Stadium is 30,000 people, right?
That's a lot.
So that's 30,000 people. That doesn't include staff. That doesn't include vendors. That doesn't include TV members. That doesn't include any of that stuff. That's just fans. So you're talking roughly what? Probably 3,000 people.
Yeah, about 30, yeah.
So we're talking at 33,000 people right there. I mean, that's a lot of people can find in a small space. In Jones AT&T Stadium is obviously gigantic. Don't get me wrong, but when you put 33,000 people in it, it becomes much smaller.
Right. And then, also the virus is airborne. It's not just, you have to touch this to get it. It's airborne. It's spread through droplets and, just things like that. So you also have to be careful of that because, even if I'm sitting 3 rows behind a guy, if he's, really giving it to the Texas quarterback because he's mad, he's, screaming and yelling that those droplets, whatever they can, get on me and my, my mouth, my eyes, etc. Especially, you have fans that are older, they still want to go to the game. Are you going to be more careful with them? Are you going to not let them go?
Exactly.
Is that type of thing. So you definitely just have to be careful with that thing. And this is kind of off script, but the same thing going on with the NBA. Honestly, I don't think they're going to play. I don't.
I think they will.
I want them to play.
I think Patrick Beverley said it best. I don't know if you saw that tweet or not.
Yeah, so he said LeBron's playing, we're playing.
I think he was joking, but at the same time, he's right.
Yeah. I want them to play. I have my own, things about it, but
sure,
I want them to play. Just also about just being safe, and you also have to bring to the table litigation. What the commissioner said a couple of weeks ago. For example, Mark D'Antoni, he's older. He's in his 60s, I believe.
Yeah, 69.
And he's in his 60s or 70s. Mark D'Antoni, he hasn't signed a contract for next year. So let's say they finish the rest of this season out. If you're another team, are you even gonna look at signing an older coach like that? Some of the coaches are older guys. Don't get me wrong, they're older. But are you even going to consider signing a coach like that due to his age, due to potential health issues? I know James Harden, he has asthma. So there's other players, they have issues like that. They're in that 4% where they have to be a lot more careful. So there's lawsuits and things that could potentially get kind of messy strictly because of this COVID. So I just want the players, whether it's college professional, just be safe with it and try to be smart.
I just think there's too much money involved in it for it not to happen. And that's when the greed aspect comes involved. But at the same time, that's just how it works sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, these guys, they're not like most Americans. And I think I hear a lot about it in baseball. I'm more on the baseball Twitter than you are. You're more in the basketball one. I'm more in the baseball. People are saying all these players are greedy and all this stuff. I'm like, in my opinion, it's very hard for me unless it's just like very obvious to side on the side of owners.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about billionaires, right? Like, it is hard for me to side on their side. Like, they're coming in, and at least in baseball, they're like, all right, well, we'll agree to prorated salaries. And the players were like, bet, you know what I mean, when it first happened. And they're like, all right, bet, we'll do that. And now they're coming in. Go ahead.
What was that picture we were talking about in the gym? What was that picture? What was his name? Remember I put in the message. He was saying that he wasn't down for the prorated salary. He said, I'm out here, risking my life.
Oh, Blake Snell.
Yeah, Blake Snell. Yeah, I agree with what he said completely. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with somewhat what he said, but he's been very wishy-washy on the whole subject. He flip-flopped a couple times. But really, in my opinion, I think this is very simple if you're baseball, and I don't understand why they can't figure it out. They're very intelligent people. At least they should be. Not every billionaire is intelligent, and not every player is intelligent. I get that. But usually you put your smarter people in your PAs and stuff like that. I think a pretty good example is Dominique Foxworth. He works at ESPN now. Dude is super intelligent. Went to Harvard Business School. He knows what the hell he's talking about, right? But on the MLB side, this is really easy. You play 82 games, 81 games, something like that. You give them prorated salaries just to the fullest extent, And then you basically do the playoff stuff for the next 2 years. You figure it out. It's super easy to do, but yet the owners are getting greedy where they're like, oh, we only want to pay you 70% of the prorated salary. Like, no, dude, that's not what you agreed to. I get circumstances change. I get that. But if you knew circumstances could potentially change later on, why did you agree to that in the first place? You don't agree to something. Like if you and I have an agreement, Tobias, right? Like today, and I agree, hey, I'm going to give you $100 on September 1st. Right? You expect your $100 on September 1st, right? But then I come in, I can only give you 70%. No, I agreed to give you $100.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you may understand, things change, but if you agree to it, then you should have to do it. Like I just can't wrap my head around how people are taking the side of the owners. Just like I don't get it personally in any sport. It's hard unless it's like very apparent, right? Like let's just say the players, we don't want to play. Like, okay, dude, like calm down. Like the players obviously want to play though in baseball, and so in basketball it seems like too.
That's the other issue I think they're having with the NBA as well, because they basically had a proxy vote, like, oh yeah, we're going to play. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you have a proxy vote, when money's involved, you're probably going to say yes. You know what I'm saying? But they're waiting for this 100-page packet to be sent out to the league because the players haven't seen it yet, and the packet basically includes the do's and don'ts, what you can and can't do. But our fear is they're going to send them this packet, which is 100 pages, which I don't know why it's 100 pages, but nonetheless, they're going to read the page. They're going to be like, wait, what did we agree to? I can't do what? She or X, Y, and Z can't come through the bubble either? I don't know if I want to play, that type of thing. So I want to see what happens with that. I mean, I hope they do play. But I just want to see what details are in these packets and how is it going to get done. Are they still going to agree to it?
Yeah, I think the biggest issue for me is I want to see skinny Jokic.
Oh yeah, he has abs now.
I want to see
abs now.
I just want to see it. Luka's skinny now. I don't know if you saw that picture either.
I haven't seen
Luka's got abs, bro. These pudgy Slovenians and everything, they're not pudgy anymore. They're not related to the Pillsbury Doughboy, man. They got abs now. Like I'm telling you.
Yeah, that Joker, he can't even be the bouncer in the bar anymore. Big Joker. I mean, he's a lot of fun. I want to see what ab Joker is. I want to see how, because he had issues, being tired. I want to see how he gets him down the floor now.
I'm going to tell you what, I hope that he's got a little bit more in terms of the vertical jump. And I want to see him yam on Embiid just so I can rub it in all you haters' faces that say Embiid is better than Jokic, because you're wrong and you know it. So stay in your lane. It's just the truth, Tobias. Yeah. Don't get mad at it. It's the truth. He's better.
Yeah, I mean, before, you couldn't start a piece of paper underneath him when he jumps. But now that he's lost, he's lost what?
He lost like 25, 30 pounds. Yeah, 25, 30 pounds.
Yeah, he was a big boy, and now he's definitely lost significant weight. So,
yeah, I just want to see him yam on Embiid. I just want to see him yam. So hard.
I just want to see sports, basketball, something.
Yeah, you're right.
Something.
I'm over here watching golf. It's amazing.
Yeah, I've been watching golf a lot more too. I'm starting to get back into it. I want to go hit some holes soon. I definitely want to go get some training.
They got me. So for those who don't know, I live in Hobbs, New Mexico. Tobias lives in Houston. But I'm the sports coordinator in Hobbs. And so at my job, I'm trying to, bring in people to, do tournaments and stuff. Well, there's no reason to do that right now because you can't do tournaments. So what they did is they moved me out to the golf course. And let me tell you what, Tobias, I've been on the range every day, at least for 2 hours, just hitting golf balls, putting. I'm just like, man, this is life right here. This is the life. And I'm getting paid for it.
Wow. You should go hit up Taylor Johnston, if you know who that is. We talked to him before. He's one of the career counselors at Tech. Mm-hmm. He actually almost made the cut for the PGA tournament a couple of years ago. So he's a big golf enthusiast, pretty young guy. He's a great guy. I'm pretty sure you email him, he'll probably come out there. He loves golf. Like I said, he's basically a pro. So,
yeah, I don't want to play with anybody like that, man. I can't play with anybody like that.
He's super competitive, so he'll get after you.
No, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do that, Tobias. I'm shooting. I'm at like a man. I'm probably at like a 20 handicap right now, which is not good. It's not great, but it's not bad. It's not bad.
You're improving. Improving.
No, if you would have told me this last year, I'd be probably at like a 27 handicap. I ain't gonna lie about it. It was bad. but it's getting better. And you know what else is getting better, Tobias?
What?
Guns Up Nation, because we're launching a new website soon.
Yeah.
On this website, it will be the home of Guns Up Nation and all of its content, from this very podcast you're listening to the articles that both Tobias and myself write, to all Texas Tech team sports scores. It'll be your one-stop shop. We'll also be partnering with local businesses, so you'll have their availability on there, hopefully 2 docs. We'll be talking to them on Friday. Just a little peek behind the curtain right there. But we'll be talking to them. We're going to talk to other businesses. We're going to have potential musical guests on there. If you're big Texas country fans, we're going to have live concerts on our Facebook Live, continue to do that, and Texas Tech sports video breakdowns from basketball, football, baseball, softball, you name it, we'll have it on there, and much more. So be sure to go follow Guns Up Nation on Facebook, Twitter, and now Instagram for the latest and everything in Texas Tech athletics. That's your one-stop shop if you want to see what Tobias and I are up to, for sure. Anything Texas Tech related.
We're going to definitely have some unique content on there from a different perspective of us just covering and watching games. I'm definitely excited for the game breakdown. RC doing baseball and football and basketball. I definitely want to see how we do, especially, there's all this talent we have in all these sports. I want to see, just break down plays, give the fans a different perspective of something they probably, just haven't seen before, things that we've noticed. Maybe we can even get the little thing where you can circle it. You can show, maybe we draw some lines.
Oh, yeah, I'll be Tony Romo, bro. I'll be Tony Romo.
We can do that. Yeah, we can do something like that.
Yeah,
I'll try not to be like Jason Witten. Hopefully, I'm not that bad. But
you have hair, Tobias. You have hair. You're good.
And I have a personality. I have a personality, so I'm not going to be going.
Yeah, I mean, at least he went to the better UT. You know what I mean? The socially acceptable one for us. If you go to Tennessee, but exactly. Also, I don't know how we're supposed to feel about Tennessee after what Big Cat did to us over at Barstool. Are we supposed to like them now that Gus Duggerton is over there, or how's that work, man?
No, he's a traitor.
He's a traitor? Okay. Yeah. The thing that pissed me off about this, and I digress just a little bit, the thing that pissed me off, he's like, maybe I'll stay one more season at Texas Tech, while he was Googling things on his phone about Knoxville. Get out of here with that trash, man. Get out of here.
Yeah, you're either with us or against us at this point.
Yeah, it squeaks, man. Ricky Squeaks. Come on, man. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous on his part. But we'll move on. I don't want to talk about one thing, because after we're having a good time, we'll move on just a little bit, and we'll talk about that next, Tobias. Let's move into Jonathan Kuminga in his recruiting right now. A lot of steam picking up. You broke the news on Twitter a couple days ago that said he is projected to announce his decision, really, on June 16th, whether he will be going to the pros or Texas Tech. And I can confirm, I know you can as well, that it's basically Texas Tech or G League at this point. There is no in between.
Yeah, for sure. I know there was a late push by Duke, but I think that pretty much got canned as soon as the buzz got around. So yeah, I agree. It's the G League, Texas Tech. One of the guys that makes graphics for them, he made a little small video with him, in a Texas Tech jersey. He did this 2 days ago. Jonathan Kuminga actually commented on the post. This was 2 days ago, and he said, "This is tough," with the red exclamation marks. I don't know what that means, and I'm not trying to get Tech fans excited, but he did comment on the post. He liked it, and he commented on it. So we'll see what he says early this week.
What's your gut feeling right now at 4:32 on a Sunday, June 14th?
My gut feeling, I think he's gonna go to the G League, because I know they're gonna offer him a crazy amount of money. It's just gonna be hard for him to say no.
I really do think it's a coin flip, unlike most people. But I do think he does go to the G League. I think it's a lot closer than people think, especially from what I've heard. There's people on 24/7. If you look at their crystal ball rankings or predictions, I should say, and I like looking at those because those guys are plugged in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They have basically, it's a 92% that he goes pro, and I think it's a lot closer than that. I think it's actually kind of in that 60 to 40 range, because family's a big deal to him. He's mentioned this over and over and over again, and if you know anything about people that are from Nigeria, like the Kumingas are, right, it's very, very family-oriented, right, especially when you're just immigrants. I mean, that's just usually how it is, you know what I mean? You're coming over here, you don't know anybody. And that's just how it works. You're close to your family, and those guys are really, really close. Him and Joel, very, very close. And I think it's been a dream of theirs since they were very, very young to play basketball together. And now they have an opportunity at a program that, I mean, if Kuminga comes here, Texas top 3 program, they're projected to go to the Final Four. I think everybody agrees with that. But I think that's what really makes it hard. Like, let's just say, for example, it's a Cade Cunningham situation where instead of his brother being on the coaching staff, he's a player, right? And he goes to Oklahoma State, right? And that guy's there, and they don't have a ban or anything like that. I know there's a lot of hypotheticals in this since Oklahoma State does have a ban, but let's say they don't, right? That's a much easier decision for Kuminga to go pro because you know you're not going to have a chance to actually make some noise in the tournament.
Right. Then also, like you said, his brother being on the team, they've been working out, you know.
And he's from the Congo. I apologize on that. Sorry to interrupt. That's my fault.
Yeah, they've been working out, you know, the past couple of weeks. I mean, they're brothers, so of course, but they've been working out somewhere. So I know they probably, you know, been having that conversation
in Miami.
I know some of the Tech players. Yes, I know some of the Tech players have, you know, been trying to hit him up, you know, just see where his head's at. But I agree. I definitely think it's a lot closer than people expect. I kind of think it's going to be, you know, he wakes up, he's like, you know, I want to go to Tech, or I want to go to G League, that type of thing. Either way, he's going to be fine. He's going to make his money. But I'm very excited to see what he said. I mean, I feel like I'm just like nervous, just waiting. You know, we've probably been waiting for so long to see what he's going to do. We got Mac. You know, Beard, he's pretty much, 3 for 3 for everybody. Well, 3 for 4. The big guy, Harm, he didn't come. But everybody else, he's signed. So I want to see if, you know, Beard can swoop in last minute, you know, bring him on to Tech.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, you talked about how he could get his money, right? You know, he's going to get his money. If you looked at the number 1 player in their respective class, and Kuminga, I'm still going to count him in the class of 2021, even though he did reclassify to 2020. I believe he's 4th now in that class. But, you know, in 2021, he was the number 1 player. If you look back, I should say, from 2010 to 2019, the average draft spot for the number 1 player in their respective high school class is 3.3. So you're talking about a top 4 drafted player. Yeah. And the lowest that got drafted was Harrison Barnes in 2010, and he went 7th, and he ended up winning a championship with the Golden State Warriors.
He signed a nice little deal too.
Multiple deals. Because he got one with Sacramento too.
Also, too, I know when me and you were tweeting about, there were a couple of guys, you know, tweeting about the G League rule that you have to be a certain age.
Yes.
Well, one, with the circumstances going on right now, I know he knew in advance, like, that rule that they were bringing up. He wouldn't have made them an option if he knew he couldn't go. Like, he's not an idiot. And the G League is not an idiot. Like, he knew that, oh, this could be a possibility for me. And even, let's just say it wasn't a G League, they were going to come up with some rule or some loophole to make sure that if he wants to come to the G League, he will be a part of this organization. He's not – I get what they're saying, but he's not a dumb kid. He knows if I can do this, I can do it. It's not that there's no maybe, no. He knew. Especially when putting that thing out there publicly, he's had conversations with G League guys before. They told me it's okay. You can come if you want to.
Yeah, no, I mean, like you said, I mean, if this was a normal year, maybe they don't let it happen. But you're talking about a year where we've had a global pandemic. And that changes everything. It pushes the season back. There's no way. So the people that don't know, you have to be 18 years old before September 15th. Jonathan Kuminga's birthday to turn 18 is October 6th, right? Mm-hmm. So we're looking about, 3 weeks there?
Yeah.
Right? So obviously the season's not going to start on time if we're talking about going, 3 months at Disney World from July 31st. We're talking about ending it, in October?
Right.
At that point. So it's just not going to happen. So the NBA is saying that they're going to start on Christmas Day, which I think will not happen. I don't think they'll start until the new year, and then they'll just compress the schedule, much like they did when they had that lockout season.
Yeah.
So obviously, if that happens, they're going to push the G League back. We don't even know if the G League is going to happen next year.
Right. I mean, and also, like you said, as far as pushing things back, they pushed the draft back. So theoretically, other events would have to get pushed back. Then also, they still have to fill out that roster. They still have to get, other players on board. Right now they have, 4? We have 4 guys. They're going to have to fill out that roster. So even from a, we need players perspective, they're going to give those guys a little extra time, especially with the circumstances going on right now. They're going to give them extra time to make a decision. It might not be a Jonathan Kuminga type guy, but, for example, there's tons of guys that probably want to do this, just haven't made their mind up. They're going to give them extra time to do this. And especially, there's levels to this. If you have what he reclassified the number 4 overall player in the country, one potentially want to come part of your league, you're going to make a loophole. You're going to make sure it's okay, for you to do that. And also, the G League, they make the rules for the G League. You know what I'm saying? It's not like there's some higher power. They make their own rules. So, you're talking to the boss of the company. He can make his own rules. Oh, if I want to change it, I can change it. That's how it works. There's no, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? There's no other power above. They make their own rules. It's their own baby.
No, and I get Texas Tech fans, like, they're trying to find every loophole possible because this is a programming, changing type guy. Right. I get it. But, like, at the same time, like you said earlier, the kid's not an idiot. He wouldn't have put that graphic out there with it up there if he knew 100%, not 99.9, but 100% that he could play there. Like, he wouldn't do it. So, I thought that was an interesting thing where it's like, no, dude, that makes no sense. There's obviously a loophole or they're going to create one.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense for them not to. Let's move on, though, Tobias. Kind of in a much sadder note, really. Texas Tech lost a legend just a couple of days ago, and Noelle Johnson. For those who don't know who Noelle Johnson is, she's a Texas Tech Lady Raider basketball legend. Played on the 1993 NCAA championship team, and unfortunately, she passed away this past Tuesday from cancer. Mm-hmm. Her resume at Texas Tech is absolutely stacked. A 3-time All-Southwest Conference selection, a member of the all-time Lady Raiders Southwestern Conference team. Johnson remains one of the most prolific three-point shooters in program history. She shot 51.1% from long range during the 94 and 95 season alone, which still stands as the top single season average ever for a Lady Raider. And then I think the most important stat for her, when you're an athlete, at least in my opinion, winning is the most important thing, right? Well, she was here during the biggest winning stretch in Lady Raider basketball history. Every year she was here, they went to at least the Sweet 16. And not to mention, she helped Cheryl Swoops win the first national championship, and she was the starting point guard on that 1993 national championship team.
I mean, she was a winner, pretty much everywhere she goes. She coaches at Midwestern State. I believe she's the winningest coach in program history.
She is
there as well. This year, they played 17 games. They went to a 7-10 record, but she was playing sick. So that kind of shows you the type of person she was. She, although she's being sick, she still was there for those young girls. She was still coaching them up and trying to give them, their last experience. Unfortunately, she died at 47. She was still very young, but definitely prayers go out to her family and friends, wishing the best for them, and, we'll try to honor her the best way we can.
Yeah, no, and I thought it was just great to see Marlene Stallings come out and acknowledge it. Yeah. Obviously, Kirby Hocutt, and then you got Marcia Sharp, the legend, her coach, It's got to be really difficult for her too. I mean, it's crazy to see these kind of things happen, and especially at a time where our world has a lot of uncertainty right now. And this just hit a lot of, closer to home than usual. And, everybody's affected by cancer, and Texas Tech is not different, They're definitely affected by it, and this shows it right here. But, I mean, if you just look at what she did at Texas Tech, because obviously she wouldn't want to talk about herself in, a bad light, and she probably wouldn't even want us to talk about her in terms of a positive light, in terms of, bragging on her in a way. But, I mean, she well deserves it. I mean, she's 17th in program history in career scoring. She's 7th all-time in assists. Johnson shot 41.1% from three-point range for her career, which ranked 6th in school history. And she played in she had 256 career three-pointers, ranking 2nd in program history. So, I mean, she's one of the all-time best. I mean, Cheryl Swoop gets a lot of love on that team, and rightfully so. She's the female Michael Jordan, as we like to call her. She's the greatest women's basketball player of all time, but you don't win a national championship alone. And Noelle Johnson was a huge, huge contributor on that 1993 championship team.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I said, she was a winner pretty much everywhere she went, from college to, to coaching. So, like I said, once again, prayers go out to her. We're definitely going to try to honor her. And I'm glad, Tech, we won't let her, pass away in vain. They did honor her, and it was good to see her coaches and, staff, part of, Texas Tech staff, to talk about her and give back some of their memories.
Yeah, absolutely. She's definitely a Texas Tech legend. And some of these guys that we're about to talk about, they want to be in the same company as Noel Johnson someday. But we're going to transition over to football right now as Dave Campbell's Texas football, I should say, announced their all-Texas team. So for the people that don't know how this works, Dave Campbell releases an all preseason Texas team. So what this means is you can only pick players from FBS programs in the state of Texas. And Texas Tech, well, they had quite a bit of players on there. They came in third in terms of most players on the preseason all-Texas teams, first and second team. They actually had 4 on the first all-Texas team and then 3 on the second Texas team. But we'll start out with the first teamers. No surprise, top 5 punter in the country, in my opinion, Austin McNamara, stud, period, in a story. You know, it's people don't realize how much a punter means to you until you have a bad one.
Oh, bad, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
And as a Titans fan, I've seen a lot of bad football before this 4-year stretch. Brett Kearns, at some points, was the most enjoyable aspect of Sundays for me watching their games. And he's the best punter in the NFL, and Austin McNamara is the best punter in the Big 12, in my opinion. Yeah. The 3 other guys on the first team were Eli Howard. I think Eli Howard's going to have a breakout year this year. This is his year to shine. What do you think, Tobias?
Yeah, I think there's definitely his year to shine. I think there's a couple of more, he got put on the list. I think there's a couple of other guys on there that I think if he redoes his list at the end of the season, they could be on there. One of our linebackers as well. I think that he could also be on this list. But I think Eli Howard, I love his motor. I think he's going to have a breakout year this year. We're definitely going to need him, especially with, Washington leaving and a couple other guys leaving. So, the pressure's going to be on him, but I think that he'll rise to the occasion. Like I said, we're definitely going to need him to be productive. When Broderick's gone, we have a bunch of young guys on their field, so we're going to need him to get back there and get to the quarterback and make plays. Yeah, no,
I think that's going to be the big impact on that line. Obviously, when you have a guy drafted in the NFL draft and you lose a guy, it's not going to make it any easier on your team to recoup the next season. And I think Eli Howard is going to have to take over that Broderick role, and I think he will do it. It might be a little bit of a rough transition, but I do think he will do it. Now, a lot of people were talking about last year how Texas Tech had one of the best offensive lines because they had a lot of guys returning. Well, they have 2 guys that are returning again from Frisco, and Jack Anderson and Dawson Deaton. They were both named to the first team, and I absolutely love Jack Anderson. Really, the only problem with him is health.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think he's an absolute stud, in my opinion. And then Dawson Deaton, I'll wholeheartedly admit, I was not sure on that guy when he came in, but he has proved me wrong and then some. He is absolutely an all Big 12 type lineman right now, and he's pretty young, right? So he's not one of those guys that's just going to be a one and done. He's a junior, and so he's going to be here for at least this year and potentially next year to build that resume up to go to the NFL.
Yeah, speaking of Jack, there were reports a couple years ago he would have been a first-round pick or definitely a second-round pick. He just, unfortunately, he gets hurt a little bit more than, we want to see. But, yeah, last year, we had one of the most top 10, top 5 most experienced offensive lines in the country last year. Yeah, top 5. So, that shows you, the development. We had a couple of those guys get picked up this year and drafted. So, it seems like in Texas they're starting to put offensive linemen, into the NFL, at least having a chance every single year.
Yeah, no, it's great to see, honestly. And I think the guy that you were talking about earlier in terms of who could be on this list is Rico Jeffers. So I think a lot of people would be shocked to see he's not even on the second team. But moving on to the second team, Adrian Fry, I don't think it would shock anybody if he was a first-teamer on this. But even more so, I don't think it would shock people if he was a first-team All-Big 12 member.
Not at all.
Yeah,
that's what he did.
He's already been. What wasn't he? Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't he an All-American?
Yeah, he was. He was. Last year, he played through some injuries, and they, moved his position. So that's kind of tough, But I think that he was just hurt last year. Yeah. So if he can just stay healthy this year, and they move him back to a position he's more comfortable with, there's no telling that I think he'll ball.
Yeah, I agree. He's going to be a corner this year, back to the corner. They've already announced that Patterson and crew have, which I think is really where he needs to be. They just kind of needed to move him last year because they lost Jashawn Johnson. Remember that? And they really just needed a safety, and he offered to do it, and he was solid in that role, but I think he's far better on the outside and just kind of creating an island for a receiver. Speaking of a receiver, Eric Uzakama's on here. Man, I love his game. I don't know about you, but I think he's arguably the next guy that's going to be that Texas Tech wide receiver we talk about in the pros for a good, 5-10 years.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he has a little edge or some swag to him. Like receivers, they have a personality, and he's one of those guys that he has. So whenever he touches the ball, you kind of get up in your seat a little bit because you never know what he can do. And I agree. I think that he'll definitely be one of those guys. Hopefully, our quarterback Allen Bowman can stay healthy this year. But yeah, he's a playmaker. As soon as he touches the ball, you're excited to see what he's going to do next. He has big time playmaking ability.
Yeah, I mean he can take a 5-yard slant to the house any given time. And then this is the guy I am most looking forward to on the offense this year. I am a little biased seeing how I am an Irving, Texas native, but SaRodorick Thompson, man, I love everything about this guy's game. I think they need to give him more of a little bit of passing role. With Henry gone, he's transferred out. Now he's down in Houston with Holgorsen. But I think Thompson arguably could be a top 2-3 running back in the Big 12 if they allow him to catch the ball out of the backfield, because we already saw what he did between the tackles and even outside to some extent. The kid can ball, and he is built he's almost built like, when I think about it, he's built just like a little skinnier Joe Mixon. That's who he kind of reminds me of.
Mixon's a good comp. I was going to say I want to see him catch the ball more too. But if he does catch the ball, I can see a little Kareem Hutt in his game as well.
That's a good comp. That's a really good comp.
What he did in Kansas City. I mean, throwing the ball. I mean, like you said, one of the guys last year that was splitting carries with him not for the most part, but it was splitting carries. He's gone. So, I like to see him used a lot more. I mean, he's also one of those guys. Every time he touches the ball, something good happens.
Absolutely.
And I think, as his offense, develops, and if he can have good health, I would those little dump balls and those little screen plays. I would give him the ball. I mean, he breaks tackles, he runs through guys, or he can finish runs. I want to go on the ball.
No, yeah, I agree. I think you're talking about a guy that came in here is really, a guy that had to really fight his way up. The depth charts, right? He comes in here, he leads the team in rushing last year. Had 160 carries, 765 yards, almost averaged 5 yards a tote right there. Yeah. You look at that's pretty good right there. You have 12 touchdowns. He did catch 39 passes last year for 154 yards, but he only averaged 4 yards per catch. That's going to change, obviously. Yeah. He had, 200 touches last year for almost 920 yards and 12 touchdowns. That's going to go up in the receiving department, I think, this year, especially with Henry gone, because this guy does a lot of things well. And the greatest part about this guy is he was just a redshirt freshman last year.
Yeah.
If he really wants to, he can stay at Tech for another 3 years. Yeah. So I think that's a really big plus. And if you look at what Utah State did with under Matt Wells as well as Yost, they like to have those running backs. Just look at the one in Kansas City. They have Thompson up there. He got drafted from Utah State. They really like to use their running back out in the open space and shifty guys. And the thing is, Thompson's shifty as well, but he can bull you over too at the goal line.
Yeah, for sure.
He's got a lot of momentum when he's moving.
Yeah, for sure. The big thing with him is just health. Like, can our quarterbacks, and offensive line, can they just stay healthy? And also, with the addition of going to start using tight ends this year, I think that might free him up as well, especially with those little dump offs. I think he might get matched on with maybe with a slower linebacker. I think that he could be able to make some big time plays back there.
Yeah, no, I think it's really going to be interesting too. Who's his backup? Because right now it's Jax Welsh. He's a junior. He hadn't played much. Yeah. There's not a lot of running backs on this roster. Only 2 right now. If you're looking at the depth chart, now there is rumors that the Alabama wide receiver will transfer out here. A lot of rumors about that. I don't know if it's true, but that's what I've heard, that Townsend, I should say his name so people know. Townsend, he's an Alabama wide receiver. Now, he can also play out of the backfield as well. He was an athlete in high school, but they moved him, played a lot of wide receiver out there as well in high school. So he's talking about here the final 2 was between Mississippi State and Texas Tech. I've heard that it's basically Texas Tech right now. Things can obviously change, but he would be able to come in right away and play as a grad transfer, and that would be huge, I think, because you could have him in the slot, and you can also play, 2 running back set where it's SaRodorick on one side and play bully ball with him, but you can also have, a guy like an Austin Eckler on the outside as well. Yeah. You get the best of both worlds.
I'm really excited for this offense. They're starting to use tight ends again. We talked about the freshman tight end. You know, well, he's coming. He's actually coming next year, but we have Basher coming back. You have Easy coming. Yeah, you have Basher coming back. Easy. You have Thompson back. I think this offense is going to be. I mean, they're always a lot of fun to watch. But I think they're going to be even more fun to watch, especially with the last memory if Alan Bowman can just stay on the field.
Yeah, no, and I like Kuntz. Remember, he came in last year as a transfer. I like him. He just couldn't stay healthy last year either. And when he did, he produced a little bit. But I think if he stays healthy, I don't think he's going to have a Jason Morrow impact, but that's the kind of player he is.
Yeah.
You know, he's more receiving than blocking and everything, but he is a better blocker than Jason Morrow. So a really talented guy right there. So I think that's going to be interesting to see if he can stay healthy. And then also, what does this offensive line look like blocking for Alan Bowman? And I also don't want to say that Alan Bowman is the for sure starter. I think Maverick could come in and win that job. Yeah. So I think it's going to be a competition. Yeah. I think right now I would say that Alan Bowman is the starter, but I don't think it's a for sure thing yet.
You know, maybe that motivates him. You know, maybe that motivates him. You know, to just get better because you know there are guys coming in that are just as talented as you. So maybe that makes him work harder in the offseason.
Yeah, no, and I think they got a little bit of motivation too, seeing how they were picked to finish dead last.
Yeah,
in the Big 12 by some publications, 24/7 out there said that Texas Tech would finish dead last in the Big 12. So definitely interesting there. But Tobias, I think we're going to wrap it up, man. Fun first podcast, man, with Guns Up Nation.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
one last thing.
Go ahead.
I don't think we talked about this. This is a couple of weeks old, but Brittany Brewer, she made the roster for the Atlanta Dream. So
there you go.
I'm definitely she made the 12-woman roster. So I want to definitely give her a shout out. You know, she's been working really hard, and I'm definitely proud of her. So
yeah, absolutely, definitely give her the love that she deserves. Got drafted by the Atlanta Dream, 16th overall in the second round, I believe, 17th overall, something like that.
Yeah, second round.
One of the best players in Texas Tech Lady Raider basketball history, right there, and good to see her getting to live out her dream and playing professional basketball here in the States. But for Tobias Bass, you can follow him at Tobias_Bass on Twitter. You can follow myself at RCMB323 on Twitter. And be sure to go follow Guns Up Nation on Facebook, Twitter, and then we got Instagram too. We got Instagram now. We got to get that cloud up on Instagram. I think it was like at 6 followers the last time I checked, and it was you, Michael, and myself. That's 3 of them. So that's just not good.
Yeah.
We got to get that cloud up.
We're growing. Yeah, we're growing, and we'll be growing for sure in the near future.
Yeah, and be on the lookout. We'll definitely put it out there on Facebook and Twitter on our respective ones, and then especially on the Guns Up Nation pages when the website is launching. But be sure to go subscribe, give us a review. We got a lot coming. We're going to have a lot of guests on the show. We're going to talk about a lot of things on this show. If you have any questions about Texas Tech athletics, be sure to send them to Guns Up Nation on Twitter or Facebook. We'll be sure to answer them on the podcast. And also, go follow at Guns Up Voice. That's the podcast Twitter. Go follow that one. That's where you're going to get all the podcast info as well as on Guns Up Nation. Once again, that's at Guns Up Voice. And for Tobias Bass, I'm RC Maxfield. We'll catch y'all next week, guys. And as always, keep those guns up.
Thanks for listening to the Guns Up Nation podcast. The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the fan page administrators, podcast hosts, and fans, and do not reflect the opinions of Texas Tech University or its affiliates. We are proud to support Texas Tech, its students, alumni, and fans.